Books and Breakfast. I'm back. We are going to do some eraser drawing and smudge drawing today. I'm going to go straight to the demo and show you what I'm talking about. This is really a lot of fun. You're going to need your ebony pencil and a blending stump and your plastic eraser. You might have a pencil sharpener handy. This is my not great pencil sharpener, and I don't have it with me, but if you have like a little tissue, or I can use this old handkerchief as a rag. We need something that we can both clean our hands with, and we also need something that we can blend larger areas of graphite with. Graphite's the stuff that's inside of this ebony pencil. All right, so let's get to it. Okay, so I have already started darkening my paper because that takes a little bit of time, and I don't think you want to sit here and watch me just color in my paper. So if you have the patience to do it and you want to do the whole sheet of paper, you can do that, or you can just do sections. But what we're going to do is we're going to darken up this paper. Now, you don't really have to press down. You just have to kind of make what's called a gray tone. It doesn't have to be super dark. It just has to be dark enough to erase out of. So what we're going to do is, instead of putting the image onto the paper, we're going to remove it. We're going to erase our drawing. So get plenty of ebony pencil going on there. I think my camera's moving. Okay, all right, and then once you get that kind of dark, take your blending stump and smooth it out. It doesn't have to be perfectly smooth, but I think it looks kind of cooler if it is. So you can even see, like, on these edges, my camera's moving because I'm moving. I need a heavier rock. So you might have to be a little seasick here for a minute while I blend this. Yeah, that's pretty good. So let's go ahead and do something tricky. Let's erase a face out of this. I hope it doesn't look too spooky. So what I'm gonna do, probably see my apple here. I was gonna do an apple. If we have time, we'll do that. But I'm going to do an imaginary thing. So I'm going to erase a face out of this dark splotch. So the first thing I'm going to do is, remember when we were talking about light source and how light bounces off of things? If you are doing a face, what would you imagine, like what sticks out the most? Like before you get your hands all dirty with this graphite, touch your face and see what sticks out the most and where the light would hit. Be your nose, right? So let's make a little line where the nose would be, and press down, and you want to erase that all the way down to the white paper. Ta-da! I got my nose started. It doesn't have to be real fancy to start. We're just gonna kind of get a little bit of space here. Okay, what next? Probably forehead, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and erase out the forehead, kind of like a letter T. You can make it a little softer. I'm just going to do it kind of bold. Now, if you think about your nose, the end of your nose probably sticks out a little bit further than the part that's by your forehead. Okay, so now you got your forehead, you got your nose. What else on your face kind of sticks out? Feel your face. What sticks out? Kind of your cheekbones, your chin. Let's do your cheekbones next, okay? We're not going to do the eyes, because if you think about it and you feel like the bones in your face, your eyes are kind of receded a little bit, so they're kind of more in shadow, so let's leave them alone. So let's put in some little cheekbones here. I'm just going to make them like circles. I have no idea what this is going to look like since I'm doing my fictional face here. It's already kind of looking a little bit like a face. I didn't think about how much this camera was going to shake when I did this project, so I hope this isn't horribly annoying. Okay, so now let's do a chin. So think about where that would be. So there's a little bit of dark where the eyes would be, a little bit of dark under your nose because there's going to be a little bit of a shadow. Leave a little space where your mouth would be. And there's your chin. So you kind of got a face started here. So I'm just going to do a little bit of outline with my eraser to give myself some area to work in. So now I've erased that out. Now I can take my ebony pencil and I can darken the parts that would be dark. So there's where one eye socket would be. There's another one. Then you can put in a little mouth. Might be a little crooked because I'm kind of working sideways here. And let's just kind of gently put in a little bit of an eye. And let's erase out the white parts of the eye. So there's just a tiny smidge right there. Might have to press down on the eraser a lot to get it. And a tiny smidge right there. You see, it's kind of starting to look like a face. The nose is a little fat. Now you can put the nostrils in if you want. Depends on the shape of the nose. All right, so I'm going to go back and define this a little bit. The top of the eye, and I'm going to put, there's one eye. This is fun. I always wonder what's going to be looking back at me when I'm done doing stuff like this. Sometimes it's scary and sometimes it's kind of cool. This is kind of somewhat scary and somewhat cool. Okay, so I'm going to put the nose in here, and I'm going to make that a little bit skinnier because nobody's nose is that fat, right in the middle. And then I'm going to make a little shadow. Have to be careful because sometimes it looks a little bit like a mustache. A little bit of a shadow there. And now you can put a little shading under the chin if you want. And then you can decide what shape it's going to be. It already looks kind of cool. So I'm going to put some heavier eyebrows in. Should I make fat eyebrows or skinny eyebrows? I think I'm going to make fat ones. I like thick eyebrows. I think thick eyebrows are kind of cool. Right? Yeah, I like that better. Should I give them a Frida Kahlo? Make in the middle. There. Okay. It's kind of a long nose. I don't know why I made it so long and skinny, but that's okay. I'm going to shade a little under there. It's kind of got a bulbous nose. Alright, then let's just go and outline the cheekbones a little bit. I can do it on both sides or one side if I want. I think I'll do both sides today just because I feel like it. He's an interesting character. What kind of hair should we give this person? Kind of looks like Mo. Like, does anybody know who the Three Stooges are? How embarrassing that I know. Let's give him just a weird sugar bowl haircut. We're just gonna make like a strange creature haircut. So I just erased myself a nice face here. Should I put some more detail? So you can decide how much detail you want. Shade in a little bit. I want to do more erasing, but I don't like how much it shakes my camera, so I'm going to do it a little bit slow so you can highlight some things that you want to be lighter. That's why I like these plastic erasers, because they don't tear up the paper as much as some other erasers do. So I could put a little highlight there and there. I can put a little bit more on the cheekbone if I want to. Okay, a little bit more here. Okay, I'm gonna stop the camera and I'm going to blacken another sheet of paper, and let's try to do this apple. Let's see if I can change the angle of my camera. So what we're gonna do is blacken another sheet of paper, and then we're gonna take our eraser out and we're gonna try to erase the apple so that it looks real, okay? Okay, so I've darkened this in a little bit. I'm going to do just a little bit more. And I think if I didn't have this shaky camera, I would make this quite a bit darker, but I already know that the more I color this in, the harder I'm going to have to press on my eraser, and it's going to shake the whole works here. You're going to feel like you're in an earthquake. Okay, so this time, instead of my blending stump, I'm going to take a little rag. I'm going to smooth this all out so it's pretty blended in. You could try to get rid of some of the pencil lines, that'll look better. But this might have to do for our purposes right now. Okay, so I'm going to get my eraser, and this time I'm going to do an apple. So I'm trying to decide if I want a light source on there. I'm not going to worry about it, I guess. Oh, so it's kind of hard to see because of the angle of my camera, but I am going to gently put in the light spots in this apple where I see the light shining on it the brightest. So in this case, the light's coming from this way. Last time we had it coming from a different direction, but this time I see that the light is a little more subtle. So there's my two little bright spots on this apple. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with outlining it, but that's not the most important part of this. So I'm going to just kind of erase out my apple shape, and it's a good idea to look more at what you're drawing than your paper. Try to keep your eyes on your apple if you're drawing your apple. Okay, I'm going to make this kind of small so you can see it. Follow the shape of that apple. So a lot of people kind of think that an apple is round, but an apple is really not round. Each apple has its own unique shape. You see some bumps under here. I'm going to put those in because I see some light shining on that. And I see that my highlights kind of disappeared here. My hand's in the way. So kind of follow the shape of the apple and erase that out. Well, it already looks kind of cool. Okay, now I'm going to go with my ebony pencil, and I'm going to go back and put in just the dark parts that I see. So I see this little ridge under here. And it's really dark on this side because the light's not shining on it. So I'm going to darken in the background again. I'm going to have to guess because I don't plan on putting my fingers in. So I'm just going to go around and see that shape of that apple. Apple's not round like that. This apple's kind of more like almost a little bit of a fat heart shape. Alright, so I'm going to put that in. And I see a little stem here. There's a little round part to that stem on the top. And then you can put some little details in. Like I can see like a lot of stripy stuff going on this apple. follow them around. You're not going to be making them straight like that because they're going to follow the shape of the apple. I'm not going to go to a lot of trouble to put that ridge on there, but you could if you wanted to. Okay, so you can sort of take your blending stump and blend that up a little bit. Blend in the background, make it darker if you want to. And I just noticed a highlight that I didn't see before, so I'm going to put that in. Whoops, there goes my apple. Oh no, I have to start over. No, I won't start over. I will, but not on your time. Ta-da! We have an apple. We have an erased apple. Okay, there's one other thing that I think we can do if you want to, which is to cut out a stencil and do some smudging and make some little abstract pieces. So I'm going to turn off my camera again, and what I want you to do is get your index card if you have one, or just a piece of scrap paper that's thicker than typing paper. You want something that's a little bit heavy. So you want to get that and a pair of scissors. My mouse is not behaving there. Okay, so what I want you to do is in one corner of your paper or on another piece of paper, just darken this, just make yourself a little black patch. This is going to be your palette. Your palette is something that holds color, like an artist has a palette that he or she has her paints on. This is going to be our palette, and this is going to be our paintbrush, and we're going to dirty up our blending stump so that it's nice and dark, because we're going to do some smudging with it. So there's a couple things you can do. I'm going to try to redraw my apple without like having it on the screen. I'm going to have you remember what that apple looks like, and I'm going to draw with my blending stump, and I'm going to smudge it. Pretty cool, right? Isn't it? It makes a nice gentle edge. And then you can kind of smudge that in. Alrighty, that looks great. And you can highlight out. Got some like hairs on here or something. Go back with your blending stump. Go back with your pencil. Just put a few accents in. You got a pretty cool apple. You can finish it if you want to. The other thing I want to do is take your scrap of heavy paper, index card if you have it, fold it in half, doesn't have to be neat or anything, and just cut a shape out of it. Could be any shape. I'm just going to do a kind of simple chop shape. Okay, and then just open it up. Interesting. Okay, so take your other one. If you have another one, if you only have one, we can work with that. And just cut a shape out. It really doesn't matter what it is. A lot of people like to do hearts and stuff like that. I could do a heart, but everybody does a heart, so I think I will do, oh, maybe I'll just do a, maybe I'll do a triangle. Let's see how that looks. Good enough. Okay, so let's use the triangle one first, and I'm gonna lay this on my paper, clean piece of paper, and I'm going to use this as a stencil with my blending stump. I want the dirty side of my blending stump, and hold it down real well. and smudge that in. Okay, now just turn your stencil a little bit so that it's kind of overlapping, and smudge it again. If your blending stump starts looking a little too clean, you can go in and put a little bit of ebony pencil on there and blend it. Looks cool. So maybe I will, since this kind of looks like trees, I think I'm going to just kind of go with that theme. So I'm going to lay that over again and smudge in another one. This one will be real light. This kind of looks like trees falling down in the snow. That will be this. That's what this art piece is going to be called. Trees falling down in the snow. So you could just make yourself like just an interesting abstract composition. Maybe I'll make one in the foreground that's a little bit darker. You know, and again, don't worry about separating them. Just overlap it. It looks cooler if you do. This time I'm just gonna, but I want it to be smoother than that, so I'm gonna take my blending stump and smooth that out. So there's endless possibilities. I kind of kept these all pointing the same direction because I liked that it looked like trees to me. Kind of looks like a winter landscape. I could just take my blending stump and just go in here and make a make it like a little stand of trees. You could put a little shadow on it if you want to pretend that the light's coming in. Now they look like Doritos or something. Okay, so maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe I want to flip this over and add a darker piece. Now I think I'm going to call it corn chip composition or something. There's one there. Make another one coming down there. Just start putting these together. So now I'm using one shape. You could make a bunch of stencils. You could make a lot of different shapes and sizes. Maybe I'll add another one here. I have a little paper left. I'll do this shape, and I'll take my blending stump and color this in. I wanted you to get a lot of use out of these blending stumps and ebony pencils. Ooh, that's interesting. So I'm going to do one more just because. It doesn't even have to be really dark. You could kind of have some kind of interesting art going on here. Alright, what about that other weird shape I cut out? This one. Remember, I just chopped out a weird shape. So, oh, I hope I don't lose my camera. It's propped up on a bunch of cans. Okay, so I'm going to put that down. Let me dirty up my blending stump a little bit. And I'm going to fill this in. And make sure when you do this, you go all the way to the edge. In the fall, it's kind of fun to do like leaf shapes and overlap them. Yeah, that's kind of interesting. I'm gonna do one more up here. Ooh, I'm getting some of the color off the tree shapes or corn chip shapes or whatever we decided these are going to be. Okay, that's okay. So, no, I could decide what I want to do. I could sharpen this up a little bit. I could follow the lines of all the overlaps and see if an interesting shape comes out of it. Can't quite tell what that one's doing over here. There, I have a lovely abstract piece of art. Okay, so in review, this is a long video, isn't it? In review, we take our ebony pencil, we darken our sheet of paper. This is the face one that I did. He's a little scary looking. And we take our eraser and we erase out the highlights, okay? And then you can take your ebony pencil and go back in and make some dark parts if you want to. But how you get started is you erase out the lightest parts of your face first, so you can really see it on me, especially because my nose sticks out so far. So look at where the light hits. So I would erase this part, and then maybe my chin next, maybe my cheekbones, and maybe my forehead, leaving the eye parts and the mouth parts dark. And then you can finish it as much as you want. This is just a face, but you can erase anything. You can make animals, you can make, well, we did an apple. Let's find our apple. So here's our apple that kind of looks like this apple. Erased out. And remember when we were doing shading and we put a little shadow on where the sun was not shining, so you could see a little bit of dimension, you can add that. So it's just kind of a taking away the bright spots and then adding back the dark spots as you see them. Some people really like to work this way. I like to work this way, especially if I'm nervous about starting a drawing. It's a little bit less scary for me to erase out the image because I know that I can smudge it back in if I make a mistake or I don't like it. So then we did smudging. We made our little dark palette so we could dirty up our blending stump and work with our blending stump as a drawing tool instead of just a blending tool. So here's my little tiny apple that I did. So remember, I outlined it with my blending stump and blended it just a little bit, and then I erased out some of the highlights, and then I put in some of the dark parts because I felt like it. And then we did stencils. So we're basically doing smudge drawings, but we're giving it a little fence. So, and I like to do symmetrical stuff, but you could just get in here with your scissors and cut out any shape. You could do a little amoeba shapes or something and just lay it on your paper, and you could even smudge it in with your finger if you have a lot of, like, you can see mine, I got graphite on my fingers, or you can kind of color it in with your colored pencil. But I think, not colored pencil, but you know what I mean, your graphite. But I like using the blending stump on them because then you get all these subtle smudges. Honestly, I outlined all those shapes just to show you that you could, but I don't like the way that looks. I think it was a lot more interesting looking when it was not outlined, and I also liked it when it just looked like a bunch of abstract trees in the snow, so I kind of wish that I had left it alone. I might go back and do another one. Okay, so have fun with those ebony pencils. I think you can do a lot with them. You can learn a lot, and they're versatile, and I'm gonna stop talking about my ebony pencils, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.